In today's episode, I explore my curiosity with Haiti. Today's guest is Dr. Marlene Daut. She is the author of The First and Last King of Haiti, the essential biography of the controversial rebel, traitor, and only king of Haiti, Henri Christophe. We talked about Henri Christophe, his trajectory from formerly enslaved to king, what he contributed to Haiti, and the very tragic way that he ended his life. In addition, Dr. Daut offered her insights on Haiti today, what's affecting its turmoil, and President-elect Donald Trump's comments about immigrants eating the cats and the dogs. So let's get into my curiosity. What's Up with Haiti featuring Dr. Marlene Daut. Hi, Marlene.
Hello, Jen.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It is a little strange always, when we fall back in time and the sun goes down at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. So
Absolutely. Is it daytime? Is it nighttime?
I know. And where are you, by the way?
So I'm in the New Haven, Connecticut area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty north. It's getting dark pretty early here.
Yes. So New Haven, I'm in New York. New Haven to New York on a commuter train takes how long?
Well, if you're on Metro North, it could take about 2.5 hours, but Amtrak, probably a little less than 2 hours. Yeah.
Okay. And I know some people do that, right?
Oh, they definitely do. I think it's a journey though. I think you've got to really be committed to that.
Yeah. The only thing I know about Connecticut is Martha Stewart. I was just watching her documentary. Yes.
I read a write-up of that, and I forgot that she lived in Connecticut.
Oh, really? Yes. I remember her talking about settling in some part of Connecticut. Like there weren't that many people there or something, and she sort of created this beautiful oasis for her and her family at the time. So that's really all that I know. And I haven't even been up there as a New Yorker, but very cool that you're joining us from Connecticut.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk about Haiti. So before we do, I want us to call Haiti whatever you want us to call it. It could be Haiti, Haiti. What do you prefer?
I mean, when I always say we should call it Haiti because we're in an Anglophone context. So that seems to me totally appropriate.
Okay, then we're going with Haiti then. So first off, I want to know, what is your connection to Haiti?
Actually, my mother is from Port-au-Prince. She came to the United States when she was about 13. And so I have a kind of very large, extended Haitian American family so we come from a family of immigrants, and I've always been interested in learning more about Haitian history, probably because of growing up adjacent to so much of that knowledge, and just had a hunger to explore more.
Got it. So you writing about Haiti, Haitian history, Haitian culture is something that's personal to you, right?
I would say it's personal, and it's about kind of deep learning. I mean, there are plenty of scholars of Haiti who are not of Haitian descent. So it definitely fueled my kind of curiosity. But at the end of the day, the narratives that I am uncovering are not personal narratives to me, but they are personally meaningful to me in the sense of seeing them be buried and not a lot of people know about that. Makes it personal for me, because I think, how can there be an entire nation of people who have done such extraordinary things for the world, not just for Haiti, and hardly anybody recognizes it or acknowledges it?
You know what's interesting about Haiti is the only thing that I know before actually reading parts of your book as a Black American is that Haiti was the first colonized country to be freed from enslavement. That's the only thing that I know, and that's a huge fact. Okay, I mean, that's incredible, right? What's missing from my understanding?
Yeah, and you know what is so fascinating about that fact is most people don't even know that, right? And so you get from this huge accomplishment, which is being the first, colony in the Americas to overthrow their enslavers, not just their colonizers, but to overthrow their enslavers and set up a free and independent Black state in the middle of the Caribbean, of all these other islands where slavery still reigned. And they do this, and they're thriving under the period that I'm studying and that we're here to talk about today, Henri Christophe. They are thriving in this environment that is really set up for them to fail, because none of the other world powers want Haiti to succeed. And that is sadly a parallel with today, where we see a kind of orchestrated effort to make sure that things are really difficult for Haiti and Haitians to govern themselves.
So I want to take us on a little bit of a journey through a game. And it's a word association game. And I think it's going to set up more of our conversation about Haiti going forward. Okay. So let's see. I forget what I named this game. So hold on. Okay. It's just simply called Finish. Nope. We're not going to do that one. We're going to do Sac Passe Haiti. Sac Passe Haiti. What's up, Haiti? Okay. So I'm going to give you a word, a person's name, and you just give me one word associated with each one. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. And I will try to not butcher their names. I speak Spanish, not French. Okay. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. All right. First up, he is obviously the subject of your book, The First and Last King of Haiti, Henri Christophe. What's your one word?
Dreams.
Okay. Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Help me.
Yes, Dessalines.
Okay.
I'd say founder.
Founder. Alexander Petion.
Difficulties.
France.
Tyrant.
French.
Colonizers.
Haitian Creole.
Language.
U.S. migration.
Tough.
Voodoo.
Spirituality.
Compa.
Dancing.
Toussaint L'Ouverture.
Sadness.
And lastly, the Haitian flag.
Triumph.
So I love that we did that, because it gave me an understanding as to how you perceive Haitian culture and history. And so your latest book is called The First and Last King of Haiti, and it centers on Henri Christophe. Henri Christophe, according to your book, was revolutionary, okay, much needed at the time, but obviously was very troubled. Where do you want to start with Henri and his contribution to Haiti?
Yes, I mean, this is such a fascinating person, and is another case of someone who had such a profound effect on the world, really. And in his day, that was recognized. And for a long time afterward, for example, in the period of the Harlem Renaissance up through the 1940s and 50s, kind of globally, everyone wanted to learn about, write about, talk about, portray on the stage Henri Christophe. And of recent years, he's kind of fallen out of cultural memory and political memory. But this is someone who had a vision for an independent Haiti that would be free of French rule, that would be free of slavery, that would be free of colonizers, and that would be thriving, economically thriving. They were setting up national school systems when that was a very novel thing to do in the very early years of the 19th century, and really trying to make progress happen, the word that they would use in the 19th century, to advance our civilization. And so he's a fascinating person who became the king of Haiti, but in some ways it was extremely unlikely, because he wasn't born on the island. He was born on the island of Grenada, which is further south and was in British hands at the time in 1767. So it's this very important thing where he becomes the Haitian king, but his origins, he doesn't trace them to that island.
So, what year did he become king?
So he became king in 1811, but he actually began to rule over northern Haiti in 1807, first as president. So it's only 4 years later in 1811 that he actually becomes king.
Okay. And if we do the math, how old was he?
Oh gosh, I'm so bad at math.
I know.
Like, okay.
I think it's important.
So he would be about 44 years old, I believe. Okay. Apologies to viewers who are than I am. Or maybe, you know what? He's about to turn 44 because I'm thinking of months now. First I was doing years, now I'm thinking months. He's about to turn 44.
Okay. So he was in his 40s. We want to say 44 years old if we're doing the math. I'm also not very good at it. So we're both struggling, but we're here. We're in the vicinity at least, right? So 44 years old, born in, I say Grenada. I guess it's Grenada, right? So born in Grenada, and he was enslaved, correct?
Yes. As far as we know, he was enslaved. He did not really talk about that period of his life. His ministers did. Baron Daut is one of his kind of major secretaries, and he gives us the information that Christophe was born on the island of Grenada or Grenada. They're both correct. October 6, 1767. And really important information that Christophe fought in the Battle of Savannah during the American Revolutionary War when he was only 12 years old and he was wounded in the leg there. So we do get some really important information from that source, but not necessarily about his parents, for example, and what happened to them.
Got it. So you have a child born in enslavement, right? Experienced enslavement, became free, right? Due to this revolution, correct?
Well, potentially. That is another, I refer to this as kind of, it was investigative historicism, maybe, or I was becoming an investigative historian because, you know, when you're reading a longer book about maybe a trial or something, and the journalist is engaged in investigative journalism where they themselves are interviewing people and trying to piece together the story. Well, that's really what I felt like I was doing here. I was gathering sources, and I have to weigh the sources against different metrics. For example, did they know him? So Baron Daut writing this information, since he's Christophe's secretary, takes on enormous significance. And the fact that he wrote this information down while the king was alive through the royal press. So with the king's approval would suggest that if it were wrong, the king would say, no, that's not right, you know, fix this information. But then there are enemies of his who lived at the same time. So I have to counterbalance that. You know, they're telling sensationalistic stories about him. And then there are all the ones who wrote about him after the fact. They might claim to have interviewed people who lived under him or people who knew him. And it's for that reason that there are certain parts of his story that we can't say for sure. One of the things I talk about in the book is that it seems that at the moment of emancipation, which happens before independence. So that happens in 1793, that the freedom fighters, the Black freedom fighters, force France to have to abolish slavery because, in effect, the freedom fighters have already liberated themselves through revolution. It seems that Christophe was probably not enslaved at that very moment any longer. He could read and write, and he was writing back and forth to various French commissioners, which seems to suggest that he felt that he, you know, not necessarily was on par with them, but that they would have some measure of respect and trust in what he was telling them about the way that things were unfolding.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that. So I'm more familiar, and not even really that familiar, but at least more familiar with the names Toussaint and, or Louverture. I cannot say that last word. Louverture. And Dessalines. I'm more familiar with them. What is their relationship to Christophe?
Well, they are his good friends and fellow freedom fighters. So if we start with Louverture, Louverture was essentially his commander in chief. He becomes governor general over the island of Saint Domingue, which was, of course, Haiti's colonial name under French rule in the 18th and very, very early years of the 19th century until independence. And Christophe quickly rises through the ranks under Louverture and becomes a very trusted official. In fact, Louverture gives him command over the city of Cap Français, which later becomes Cap Haitien, and under Christophe as king becomes Cap Henri. He renames it after himself. So he's pretty important to Toussaint Louverture. But of course, Louverture never lives to see independence because due to French duplicity, in June 1802, Louverture is tricked on board a French ship, or arrested, and I should say, he's tricked into a meeting, arrested, and then put on board a French ship, and where he's deported and sent to prison, where he dies in April 1803. Dessalines is also Christophe's friend, but they don't appear to be as close as he and Louverture are, at least not in the colonial era. But Dessalines is the one who is named independent Haiti's first ruler. Then he becomes an emperor, the Emperor Jacques I. And under Dessalines' rule, he makes Christophe his general in chief of his whole army. So he has some type of regard for him. Their children share a nanny at one point. Their wives are friends. So if they weren't close in the colonial era, they come to know and seem to trust one another and have faith that they are two people who are really needed to move the country forward in independence.
What I find so fascinating is Henri Christophe, and correct me if I'm wrong here because you are the historian. Henri Christophe was a formerly enslaved person who was allowed or permitted himself to become king over a nation. Is there anybody else who has that story?
There really is not. I mean,
Right.
the only other person in this realm, but really in any realm, who has a similarly fascinating story, but one with a much shorter, it comes to its conclusion much more quickly, is Dessalines, because, he's set up at first as governor general of independent Haiti. But that's the title that Toussaint Louverture had when the island was still under French rule. So it didn't really make sense for an independent nation. So he pretty quickly is given the title by his by a bunch of generals. They say, you should become emperor. And he becomes emperor, but by October 1806, he's assassinated by this kind of rival government. One of the men you named, in fact, during the game, Pétion, Alexandre Pétion, leads this, conspiracy against him. It ends in the emperor's assassination, and pretty quickly Christophe takes the reins, and that's really what's so astonishing. But he takes the reins over a divided Haiti because Pétion is going to rule in the south as president over the Republic of Haiti, and Christophe will rule in the north, first as president. And then his counselors of state in March 1811 say, we don't really think that this is the proper form of governance for us. The civil war with the South has distracted us from thinking about a permanent form of governance that better suits us. And we think you should become king. And he accepts. And it becomes a hereditary monarchy with his son, Prince Victor, set up as his natural heir to the throne.
Now, because I already know, because of your work, because I already know how this ends for Henri Christophe, and we'll get to that. As much as I'm fascinated by the history, I'm even more fascinated with the psychology of a formerly enslaved person becoming king, because I can only imagine, right? You're enslaved. You feel as though you don't really have any power because you don't. You belong to somebody, your property. You're being told what to do, what to say, how to say it. You're at the physical, mental, emotional, psychological mercy of your property owner. And now you're free. Not only are you free, you're able to rule a country. You're able to create an infrastructure. You're able to collaborate with people. So I'm wondering, do you have any insight? Obviously, you weren't there. You're not 300 years old, okay? But what is your insight on a formerly enslaved person going from that kind of mindset to now a kingdom mindset? What does that look like?
You know what the astonishing thing is, perhaps, given the way that you've laid it all out, right? Because when you think about a person who spends their life under subjugation, right? From white people, from white colonists, because even in the era of emancipation, 1793 forward, Christophe is jailed twice by the French. Like, he is free of slavery. They are free of slavery, but he's dominated by people at every turn, and he's got to do their bidding, essentially. The French military, the French government, he's a subject to France. But when he becomes king, when he becomes president first, he's very natural at it. His speeches, his proclamations that he gives to the people, he seems to have fallen into this role as if it were his destiny. And of course, since you know how the story ends, that also, the way that he ends things for himself is also suggests to me that, this is someone who feels he's on a trajectory and that fate is in some ways moving him along, and that whatever happens is supposed to happen. He's not the type of person who complains a lot. He loses his son to French treachery, his firstborn son, not the one who's his heir. He had sent his son to be educated in France, as so many free Black men from the colony did. And when Christophe aids the freedom fighters to get independence, the French retaliate and put his son in an orphanage. Ends up in the streets of France, and he dies this terrible death. And Christophe, sort of absorbs this very stoically. He's clearly affected by it, but he isn't doing the kinds of writing that Toussaint Louverture does in prison, for example, where he says, "It's all because of my skin color. You've treated me worse than you've treated the greatest criminals." Christophe's stance is, you've done all these horrible things, and whatever horrible things you experience, as a result, you deserve them, and I will spend my last breath defending the Haitian people so that none of us ever have to suffer this way again. So he adopts this paternalistic tone, not of victimhood, of heroism, where he tries to convince the people he's the only one who can save them from the terrible fate that France is preparing for them and their children. And the fact that he's experienced it firsthand, I think, gives him some credibility in the eyes of the people.
Interesting. Was there a dark side?
I would say, that along with that idea of this seeming natural to him, well, but what about this type of power is natural, especially to someone with his upbringing, that you saw people in power and you wanted that type of power. You wanted the power of life and death over people, because when you are a king, Black king, white king, French king, Haitian king, British king, when you are a king, you have that power because that's what Western kings do. That's what modern monarchy means, is that you have to believe that the king is your sovereign, whether that is by divine right or the people's choice. It matters not, because once you're in that role, the people are supposed to follow you, and they're supposed to follow essentially blindly, because that's what paternalism is. Father knows best, right? And when you disobey father, what happens? You're punished. And so he was also a punishing king, as all kings are. And he used powers of execution. He used the power to jail people. He used powers to, get back at his enemies and those he felt betrayed him. And so I would say that this is the downside to someone, even if they are a very good leader, that there's something about the drive for that type of power that always probably has a downside. I'm trying to think of examples in history where it hasn't, and I think it's always got a problematic element to it.
I think, and we'll just go right to the end of what happened to him. But I would like some more color as to why. So, from what I understand, Henri ended up committing suicide,
Yeah.
and it's always interesting how people commit suicide, right? You might have somebody hang themselves, you might have somebody jump off a bridge or something. He chose to shoot himself in the heart
Yeah.
with, I don't know if this is true, but I'll just say legend has it
Yeah.
that he shot himself with a silver bullet. I mean, what in the world? Um, why did he do that?
So, um, I think one really important thing to understanding, well, the first thing is, with suicide, um, that there can never be an actual reason. Sort of, I was looking into the psychology around there's reasons given, but what makes one person take that step who experiences something, but someone else in that situation doesn't do it? We don't have the answer, right? But
Hmm.
for him, there's a series of events, as there is in any scenario like this, a series of events that leads up to it by which we infer certain things. And I would say the first thing is that in August 1820, Christophe suffers a stroke at a church in Limonade on his wife's feast day. So they're preparing this huge celebration. And during the mass, he just kind of falls to the ground. He hits his head. His doctor is there, a Scottish doctor. He had all these foreign doctors and teachers living in the kingdom, people who wanted to be there, wanted to help advance the civilization and this kingdom forward. And he revives him, but the king, he's had a stroke, and it's very clear that he's paralyzed on one side or having trouble moving one side of his body. And there are some nobles in the kingdom who take this time to sort of prepare themselves for what's going to happen if the king can't rule anymore, or if in fact he dies. Because you have to think about, in a kingdom like this where the king and his ministers essentially control the entire press, we don't have any newspapers from that era. Are they being forthcoming with the Haitian people? It doesn't seem like they were. So for all they know, the king is really actually dead and no one is telling them, right? Because they kind of hold him away. And
Mm.
so this conspiracy blossoms and forms. But then, as so many people do who suffer a stroke, he starts to get better. He starts to get better. He starts walking around. He's talking to people. He starts governing again. And the people who are living in the palace at the time, principally his son's teacher, have chronicled this moment. He gets up, he's starting to give orders, he gets on his horse, and so this has got to be a shock to the conspirators, and they don't stop their conspiracy in essence. And so as the conspiracy grows, it takes a long time for Christophe to accept that it is happening. So he commits suicide on October 8th, 1820. But from people who were in the palace at the time, the teacher, various doctors who were with him, they say he really doesn't accept this until about 2-3 days before. He's convinced that this is just rumors, and he's going to get to the bottom of whoever is spreading these rumors, and he's going to make them pay for this. And it turns out that it's true. And every time he sends troops to go after the conspirators, they defect and they join with them. And so on the night of October 8th, 1820, he turns to that same doctor, the Scottish doctor who'd revived him after the stroke. He says, "Where's my heart?" He shows him exactly where the heart is, and he tells him the words where, "I know well what I have to do." The story is that the doctor leaves the room and he shoots himself in the heart and ends his journey for himself. He's very clear that he wasn't going to allow himself to be assassinated like Dessalines, arrested and tortured and die a terrible death like Toussaint Louverture, that he was going to go out on his own terms.
I was talking to a doctor who went to medical school, and she said, I really thought that when I went to medical school, they were going to teach me how to heal people and cure people. She learned in her practice that unfortunately, that's not what she was learning.
Mm-hmm.
She was learning how to treat um, sort of just the physical manifestation of things and not necessarily the root cause. So, the reason why I bring that up is because I do believe that there are explanations for things that are beyond the physical, very spiritual, emotional, those kind of things. Hearing about Henri shooting himself in the heart, where I personally go, because I look at things from such different angles, is oh my God, from 1820 until now, we've seen assassinations, we've seen political unrest, we've seen gangs, we've seen a whole bunch of horrible things going on in Haiti. And again, I am a privileged American. I am in New York watching it on the news, okay? So what I hear coming from Haiti, I'm like, why is this going on? And a lot of people ask, why is this happening? This is an incredible nation that freed itself from enslavement. What is going on spiritually? What has gone on historically, like emotionally with people? And I mean, is there any sort of insight that you can give in terms of the relationship between what Henri did and where Haiti is now?
Yeah, it's the real tragedy of the story. It's always a tragedy when someone, takes their life, right? I mean, how could
Sure,
we think of it
sure,
otherwise, right?
sure.
But an underlying tragedy is that, Christophe, for his many, many flaws as a ruler, we haven't even talked about the construction of his palace, his famous citadel, the fortress, Citadel Henri, he names after himself, largest fortress in North America. But the kind of labor he uses to build this, which is, really hard labor in lieu of taxes. Oh, you can't pay taxes? Oh, you get sent to build this, right? And it's hard and people die, and we don't know exactly how many, but reportedly a lot. And he was trying to take Haiti down a certain path with his school system, for example. He was trying to, he wanted to change the religion of Haiti from Catholicism to Anglicanism because he he wanted to go from a French religion in his mind to a British religion, which he figured would be more free, or at least free of the French colonizers. And so he has a vision, and it's not a vision that we would share today as a form of sort of Black liberation, right? Especially with him setting up this monarchy. But Haiti's on a path. And they, just like the United States and France after its revolution, bouncing back and forth between republic and empire and kingdom and republic again and then empires, that Haiti's not being allowed to develop its own path. Because after the uh, death of Christophe, the two sides of Haiti are reunited into one side by Alexandre Pétion's predecessor, a man named Jean-Pierre Boyer. Jean-Pierre Boyer, in fact, even brings the eastern side, that's now the Dominican Republic. He reunifies it with Haiti. The whole island had been under French rule at the moment of independence, and then that side of the island had returned to Spanish rule, and he brings it into the fold by 1822. But he really wants international recognition for Haiti and is trying really hard to get it. And one of the disastrous things that he does is in 1825, he agrees to French King Charles X's demands that Haiti will pay 150 million francs as the price of independence. And so if you imagine that, more than 20 years after Haitian independence in 1804 is formally and officially announced, now we have a president in Haiti saying, we're going to pay you what the Haitian revolutionaries and freedom fighters, won at the price of their blood and their lives, their children, like Henri Christophe's son. And this starts Haiti down the path that is directly related to the path it's on today of international interference, meddling, unrest, instability, poverty that's driven by a world system that makes Haiti a debtor nation, completely indebted to other nations throughout the 19th century, that needs to be occupied, which Haiti was from 1915 to 1934 by the United States, then again in the 90s by the UN, and then again in this long series and tissue of occupations, of unrest, that really is tied back to the fact that development path that he was on, no one can say, we don't have the counterfactual. We can't say what would have happened to Haiti without that. What would have happened?
Okay. Got it. Got it. So if I'm hearing you correctly, this 150, I hope I heard the right number, 150 million francs
Yes.
that France is asking
Yes.
Haiti to reimburse, I guess, them for, which is crazy, reimburse them for because of the revolution, right? Wow. Do you know specifically where they are in repaying that debt and whether that can be forgiven?
So what happens is that the Haitian government has to take out loans to pay these debts. The loans were from French banks, right?
Mm.
And they default after making the first two payments. And then France sends more warships in 1838 to basically try to force the hand of the Haitian government, still under Boyer, to pay. The total amount owed is reduced to 90 million francs. So from 150 to 90 million, Haiti has already paid 30 million, astonishingly, has already paid them 30 million francs. So now they owe them 60 million francs, but they're required to take out these very high interest loans from French banks to pay the rest. And so by the 1880s, they have finished paying parts, the main part of what we call the indemnity. But they still owe all this money in interest and fees and all kinds of things to these French banks. And so the current estimate is that Haiti doesn't finish paying the entire amount until 1947, but it's impossible to measure the cost of the opportunities lost, impossible to measure the cost of progress and of building a nation. For example, Haitians living throughout the 19th century say, we're sending all the money to France. We're not building roads. We're not building hospitals. We're not building schools, that we're being told to go to work in the countryside to make money so that we can pay this debt. So Haitians already know in the 19th century. It's not like some type of revelation later, the way that sometimes later researchers have approached the topic. This was always on the minds and in the hearts of the Haitian people, who they were the ones who actually suffered under this and were forced to pay, as is usual, that the rulers, we see this in Haiti today, we see this in our own country, they're fine. They'll flee. They'll go live in exile somewhere. The people who have to sit there and live with the consequences are the Haitian people, and that's what we're seeing today.
So, Marlene, this is going to sound like a very insensitive question, but it's a question, okay? Ooh, here we go. Clutch your pearls, all right. If we're saying that Haiti's still owing France about, and I just looked it up, $67 million. I'm going to just use it dollars, right? 60 million francs, correct?
Yes.
But which is $67 million. If we're saying that, you know, Haiti owing France $67 million is either a really big determining factor or the determining factor as to a lot of the turmoil that we see going on with Haiti, then does that mean that Haiti will be in this turmoil until this debt is paid?
Well, so they have paid, Haiti has paid the double debt. I believe that the New York Times calculated that Haiti had paid over 110 million francs, actually, in reality, that's how much they ended up paying, which was actually about 500 million US dollars.
And this is over how many years, Marlene?
Over decades. This is over, almost 10 decades, because it's into the 1880s. But then there's other money attached to this as well that gets caught up in US banks. In fact, one of the subsidiaries is today's Citibank, is a subsidiary of one of the banks. And in the New York Times, in that investigation, they kind of lay out they name the different banks. So it is important in that regard. They can clearly show which banks actually had money and the way that the debt was repackaged so that it became a double debt. And so it's actually the case that France owes Haiti money. The United States owes Haiti money because the United States government impounded all Haitian government revenue in 1914 and then used as a pretext the death of Haiti's President Sam, in 1915 as a pretext to invade the country. So, but the year before that, in 1914, they'd already impounded Haitian government revenue to the tune of about 500,000 US dollars in gold stores. And so, for Haiti to be repaid, and that in today's money is calculated at anywhere between 22 billion to 44 billion US dollars. But when you factor in tariffs and fees and the fact that Haitians' trade with Great Britain and the United States was harmed because they were forced to enter into these kind of unfair trade agreements with France in the 19th century as a part of the indemnity package. That amount rises to over 100 billion US dollars. It's astonishing. But what makes it less astonishing is when you think of these kind of millionaire, billionaire oligarchs who literally have this amount of money and the wonders that it could do for infrastructure, for schooling, for hospitals, for human lives. And instead, that wealth is consistently hoarded. So I feel like it's not necessarily about blaming any one power or France. What we're talking about here is actually a capitalist system that thrives and made money off of impoverishing Haiti and Haitians, and then turns around and says, well, that was ancient history. We don't owe you anything. It's not our fault. Why are you blaming us? Right? When that's exactly what damages are. It's about the material harms that came about from a wrong, historical wrong, or a current wrong, and because the wrongs are ongoing and accumulate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy about what you just said is that there are millionaires and billionaires with money to spend, or at least spend on so-called philanthropic efforts. They did so in 2019 with Notre Dame Church.
Yes.
When that fire happened, as you know, so many people, millionaires, billionaires, gave money. And I'm like, wow. Nothing against Notre Dame, but there are people out here in this world, okay? Haiti, for example, okay? That are indebted, to me, unethically, immorally indebted to France. There are other people who are refugees. I mean, there are so many other needs, and you choose to give your money to Notre Dame? Where are the priorities? So obviously, if we could, right, as a people collectively, help Haiti, right, assist Haiti with this issue, we really could, but we're not. And what does that say? What does that say about us?
You know, I remember when Notre Dame burned down, and I remember this was kind of still like Black Twitter was still around, and I remember people saying they couldn't believe the gross displays, performative much of it, of people crying over this church, like weeping, like oh my gosh, this is the worst tragedy that's ever befallen humankind. What are we going to do? And I remember the journalist and author Amy Wilentz wrote an article. I think it was for The Nation, but don't quote me on that. But it was called "The Other Notre Dame Was Not Rebuilt." And it was about the Notre Dame Cathedral in Haiti that crumbled during the earthquake in 2010 and what was not rebuilt. And it wasn't so much about, oh, we should want that church to be rebuilt. It's about what does it mean for humanity, for humankind en masse, because it was people from all over the world. It wasn't just French people lamenting this church and its symbolism, and like talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame and all kinds of things that it was calling forth for them. And Haiti is just this unfortunate place that's ravished by earthquakes and political instability and cholera. Never mind that cholera was brought there by the UN quote unquote peacekeepers, right? And what makes someone worthy of the world's empathy, and also their money and their time and their expertise, instead of just writing it off, which is what I think most people wittingly or unwittingly do in their minds with Haiti, which is, oh, well, yeah, but Haiti's always in the news for this turmoil. And France is like the idea that it was France that needed the world's assistance at that time, a powerful, rich country, you know.
Exactly. I want to switch gears now to U.S. Immigration. Haiti is or Haitians, I should say. Haitian immigrants are a hot topic, especially since the presidential debate with now President-elect Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, where President-elect Trump said that he had heard that in Springfield, Ohio, they were eating the cats and the dogs. News anchors, journalists were piecing together what he was saying, because I don't even think he necessarily said Haitian immigrants, but um, so they were connecting the dots, and he and Vice President elect JD Vance have reported that they have heard anecdotes about Haitian immigrants eating pets and cats and dogs and these sort of things, basically creating a narrative that the Haitian immigrants, specifically in Springfield, Ohio, are not really contributing to society, that they're coming from a war torn, poor country and bringing all their problems and crimes to Springfield, Ohio, and maybe your town is next, right? Like, that is the story. So, just based on what we've talked about, Marlene, there does honestly seem to be understandable reasons as to why Haitians want to immigrate, whether it's here to this country, to Mexico, to wherever. What are you sort of seeing as their roles here in the United States? And I want to add something here. There was something I saw, a news piece where I guess he was a manager at an auto factory in Springfield, and he talked about how a lot of the Haitian immigrants that he, sees at his job, he's grateful for them, because he said, now we have some people who can fill these roles, fill these jobs. Now, on the surface, that kind of seems good, but then also it's like, wait a minute, there's something a little insidious under here, because maybe these particular roles are roles that they're expecting them to always have. And I don't know if we're creating an underclass or working class or a specific working class. So yeah, like, what are your thoughts with everything I just said? I know that was a lot.
Yeah. I think it's worth repeating that the story about Haitians supposedly eating pets in Springfield, Ohio, has been completely debunked, because, first of all, just common sense, but secondly, the two people who started this rumor on Facebook backtracked and immediately said, or eventually said, this didn't happen. We were just saying these things. We were just, trying to get likes and clicks and whatever. And when confronted with this information, JD Vance said, well, it doesn't really matter, because if I have to create stories to get the media to pay attention, something like that, then that's what I'll do. So in a roundabout way, admitting that he potentially knew that this wasn't true, and he decided to repeat these rumors and unfounded, kind of stereotypical, I don't even know what to call them, it's lies. He decided to repeat them anyway. And this caused a lot of problems in Springfield, Ohio. There were schools that had to be shut down because they had bomb threats. And it is also worth pointing out that the people who were under threat, even before that in Springfield, Ohio, were the Haitian immigrants. There was a man, if you go into the FBI hate crimes database, there was a man waiting outside of Western Union, places where people could send money through Western Union, because that's how Haitians often send money back home, remittances. And he was waiting out there and would beat them. And he was convicted of a hate crime. So the idea that the Haitian immigrants are the ones who are going to harm the U.S. people is just not true. It's the opposite. And when, called to give examples of what are Haitians doing that are harming, they have to pull stories, tragic stories of, a child being struck by a car, when even that child's parents, his father, said this was an accident, and it's horrible that people are trying to weaponize an accident. So even in looking for whatever story they could find to demonize the Haitian people, all they could come up with is a truly tragic tale of suffering that was a horribly unfortunate thing. And so that's the first thing I would say, is that these are dangerous narratives that have the capacity to actually bring harm and violence to the Haitian people. And when Haitians immigrate to the United States, they are coming here to find jobs, to have a better life. Isn't that what JD Vance and Trump are saying? That it's so great here? Well, then why do they think that immigrants want to come here to destroy the country? They don't want to come here to destroy the country. They want to come here to contribute. They want to come here to build. They want to come here to have a good life. Because as much as, Haitian immigrants love Haiti and wish they could stay there, we can see the conditions in Haiti are not conducive to the forms of life that people, want to live and that they want to have. And it's even more tragic, the ones left behind in Haiti without means to live and without means to make society better. And so I say, if we live in a country in which we can make things better, we see that there are wrongs being committed, let us not sink into those wrongs. Let us try to make things better. And that's what, we need to be doing. We need to be asking the Haitian people, instead of, sending them occupation after occupation, is what needs to happen here for things to get better? And people need to listen to their answers instead of believing that they know what's best for the Haitian people.
Okay. I want to also, let's go back to the island of Haiti. So sometimes, when things are not going well in a country, all right, I feel like there are certain powers uh, at hand who are paying attention in a way to possibly capitalize over it. Okay. I know that certain countries in Africa, for example, and I can't name them, but certain countries in Africa where China has a really big foothold in real estate there, and a lot of areas there that locally the people are not happy with. Do you have any idea as to what countries are possibly eyeing Haiti as a way to overthrow them or to take over that land? Because it's still land. It's still land. So somebody's interested. What are your insights there?
I'm not ruling it out as a possibility, but I really, at this moment, I don't see, where I see global national corporations after the earthquake, for example. In 2010, I saw global national corporations seem to want to descend on Haiti, for example, of the
Mhm.
dominance that Digicel,
Mhm.
the Irish telecommunications company, has over telecommunications in Haiti. We saw Marriott open up a hotel. We saw, I believe it was either a Best Western or a Holiday Inn. Sorry, I can't remember which one, but it closed, shortly after the current unrest. But so I would say, more than, for me, not being a political scientist or an economist either, or a political strategist even, that what I see is global national corporations that might look at Haiti as a market, a huge market for something, especially when there's a manufactured crisis. So when we talk about disaster capitalism, like, oh, if they don't have clean water, we'll just give them, we'll give them bottles of water and we'll make them dependent on bottled water, and then they'll have to buy bottled water from X, Y, and Z company. Or, for example, when the United States flooded the Haitian market with Arkansas and Miami rice, and Haitian rice farmers were pushed out of business. So I feel that the predators that are coming for the land, so to speak, is not necessarily huge swaths of territory as much as it's markets and what they envision could happen. What can they, how can they make money off of the Haitian people is more what I see.
We're going to wrap it up in a little bit. I would like to know, Marlene, if Henri were here today, what do you think he would try to do about this unrest that's going on in his country?
I honestly, I truly do not know. I think it is hard to imagine if, the maybe the real tragedy of his death is that, if he had lived while he was alive, it was very clear that the indemnity couldn't happen because it was proposed numerous times and he always shot it down. And so, what would Haiti's trajectory have been with him in power? Perhaps he would naturally have been overthrown at some point, and some one more worthy would have taken his place, someone who wouldn't have been open to signing the indemnity agreement or coerced into it or forced into it, however we want to phrase it. And so it's hard to say what he would do now, because I truly think that things would be different. They would just be different by virtue of him having survived. Would it be better? I can't say, but it certainly would be absolutely different if he had not died on that day in October 1820.
Okay. And lastly, I do want to play one last game, and it's not even really like a game, but yeah, I think I want to end it here. So it's just called Finish These Sentences. I'm going to give you a prompt, and you can just finish the sentence however way you want to. Okay. Haiti is
a wonderful place.
Haiti needs
the world to respect its sovereignty.
Haiti does not need
more colonization.
Henri Christophe is responsible for
building some of the most iconic monuments on the island and in the Americas.
Henri Christophe is not responsible for
every ill that has befallen Haiti that he has been blamed for in the historical record.
The U.S. owes Haitian immigrants
so much, an incalculable amount.
Lastly, Haiti offers
a lesson to the world to respect sovereignty, to believe in true freedom, and to strive and make true equality happen.
Is there anything you would like to add, Marlene?
Thank you so much for your interest in this story. I think it's truly important, more now than ever before, for people to encounter a different side of Haiti, which I think the Kingdom of Haiti shows them. Not the Haiti they're used to seeing on the news, but then related to that, to also see and have conversations about the present day, to see the links to the past, to see the breaks with the past, the continuities and the ruptures, and to really imagine and think about a way forward that might be something we have not thought of yet, that we always have to be open to the possibility that there is a different way, not just the past, not just what we're doing now. There's a different way. We have to try to think about it and come up with it.
And tell us the name of your book again, how we can find it, and how we can find you.
Yes, so my book is The First and Last King of Haiti, The Rise and Fall of Henri Christophe. It's available to order now wherever books are sold. And I hope you'll also, if you do know French, check out my website called LaGazetteRoyale.com. And there you can read more than 100 newspapers from the Kingdom of Haiti and get a sense of his style as a ruler and these magnificent speeches that he gave that convinced the Haitian people to follow him and want him to be their king for so many years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marlene, for joining me for this episode of What's Up with Haiti.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a delight.
Thank you so much to our guests for joining me, and thank you for listening. This episode was edited by Chase Parker, hosted and executive produced by me, Jennifer Brown. Produced by Latrice Lauve and distributed by Black Owned Productions. I hope you'll join me again on another episode. The Curiosity Podcast is a safe space to not only explore my curiosity of all the things, but yours as well. And together, we get to dig a little deeper as to why that curiosity exists in the first place.